Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm about to step outside my comfort zone and start reading some fantasy books, y'all, and I'm a little nervous about it, so I need y'all to come along with me. But before we get into all that, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. Why do I try to sit outside and be all like outdoorsy and visit with y'all when the wind is howling like this? I don't know, but there comes the sun. But the intern is watching the Braves game inside, so I thought it would be rude if I tried to sit on the couch and talk to y'all while the intern's trying to watch the Braves. So we'll sit out here. Ooh, the wind just died down. We'll sit out here for a little minute and talk, then I'll go inside and sit with the intern and just read my book. So y'all, here's what's going on. I'm going to start reading fantasy, and I figure I may as well jump straight in with both feet. My first fantasy, well, I did read, remember that cozy fantasy we read? We read Legends and Lattes, but that was definitely cozy fantasy. Was that low fantasy? I don't really know. I'm not sure what the difference is. I think, so high fantasy is, it exists in like a whole like fantasy built world. And low fantasy is when like fantastical elements like are interjected into the normal world. Is that right? Y'all help me out. I really don't know what I'm talking about. But we also read the book with the kids in the group homes. What, the house in the Cerulean Sea. That was definitely some kind of, was that low fantasy? Because it was a lot of like normal stuff, but then just some magical stuff. I don't really know. But I know that Brandon Sanderson is high fantasy. He's like the king of high fantasy. And so then I read that it's epic high fantasy because it's like high stakes high fantasy. Is that even a thing? I really don't know. But I know that it's a honker of a book. It's like 600 pages. And I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this wind, for one thing. But with this version of the book, I don't know. I'm going to go used book shopping, like actually in person used book shopping this week. So if I find a better one of these, I might buy it and read that one. I'm going to go ahead and start this one. But I kind of didn't like this. I don't know. It's like square and weird. Can y'all see like the shape of this book? I kind of didn't like it at first, but now it's starting to grow on me. So I don't know. We'll see. I know y'all are like, are you seriously obsessing about the shape of that book? And it's like 1,000,000 pages, right? It's like at the end of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid when they're going to jump off the cliff and the kid says, I can't swim. And Butch is like, you can't swim. It's the fall that's going to kill you. I'm all worried about the shape of this book, and it's like 1,000,000 pages. So am I focusing on the wrong thing? Maybe. Anyway, let me get out of this wind because my hair's sticking to my face and y'all probably can't hear me anyway. So I'm going to go inside, sit on the couch with the intern, start reading some Brandon Sanderson. Did I even tell y'all what book this is? Lord have mercy. Maybe the intern's right that I drink a little bit too much coffee. So we're reading The Final Empire, which is the first book of the Mistborn series. It's a trilogy. The Mistborn trilogy. This is book 1. So The Final Empire, I'm going to go get started and I'll report back when I know something. All right. So y'all sit tight and I'll be back. All right, y'all. I've been riding the bike and reading The Final Empire, which is the first book of the Mistborn series. I have no idea what I called it when I talked about it the other day because I have called this book everything but its rightful name. So it's The Final Empire, which is book 1 of the Mistborn series. And on that note, I may well have said, I'm going to get y'all set up so I can make my breakfast while we're talking. Because like I said, I just finished riding the bike and I'm hungry. So I may have said book 1 of the Mistborn trilogy, which, y'all looking at, no, that's even worse. I'm so bad at this. I may have said book 1 of the Mistborn trilogy, which it is a trilogy. If by trilogy you mean like 7 books, because it's like 7 books. So anyway, I am about 1/5 of the way into it, and y'all, I'm really enjoying it. I don't think I told you that the reason I decided to start reading it now is because I own the book, but I decided to check the Kindle version out from my library. I don't know why, it was random. And I had to put a hold on it, like I had to wait for it. So it finally came up, so I was like, oh, it must be time to start reading this. Plus somebody mentioned Sanderson in a comment, and I was like, well, all right then. That's an omen. So we're reading it. And y'all, I don't know if you know, but I'm sure I showed you the other day. Brandon Sanderson writes books that are like this thick. So it's a little intimidating until you start reading. They are so easy to read. Y'all, I was horrified because it's high fantasy or epic fantasy or whatever kind of fantasy. And that's not what I read. So I was like, what am I getting myself into? And I've already committed to it. And I told the people it's what we're going to read. So it's what we're reading. Did I tell you I'm grabbing my breakfast? So I'm getting breakfast together. Started my coffee. What is wrong with me? So now we need to move over here where we can make our breakfast. I'm not going to eat breakfast with you because nobody needs to watch me eat breakfast, but that light is not going to work. There we go. Sorry, I was trying to look and see if I was focused. So anyway, oh, here's the book. Hang on. We have visuals. So I am enjoying it. Like I said, it's not an easy read. Like, it's not going quickly. There's a lot going on. There are a lot of characters, but they're not difficult to keep up with. I don't know if y'all remember, but when I read, I think that's actually worse. Sorry about all this. When I read, what was the Stephen King? Oh, Salem's Lot, duh. There were like a million characters. I could not keep up with who was whom, partially because I didn't care about them, but also because it was just kind of like this like scatter pattern of characters. And they all like lived in the town, but there was no sort of cohesive picture of who did what with whom. And it took a long time for that to develop, for me anyway, in Salem's Lot. So it was a long time before I could figure out which characters were whom. Well, the final... I actually had to look to make sure I am calling it the right name after I bragged about learning the name. The Final Empire, at least so far, came together pretty quickly. Like who was whom and what they're doing. And it's, for the first fifth of the book anyway, from what I have gleaned from the first fifth of the book, it's a band of like rebels or outlaws who are working for this dude to overthrow the Final Empire, overthrow the ruler. And there's this like system of power or system of magic that's, my dogs are losing their minds because they want to bite on my banana. So y'all don't judge me, my banana is a little overripe, but it's what we got, so it's what we're eating. What was I saying? Oh, so the system of magic or power is based on metal, and there are certain characters who can use the metals to do certain things. And I don't want to say a whole lot more than that because y'all read the book. If I'm slogging my way through this book, you can... No, I'm kidding. I know that's not what this is about. But I really don't want to give spoilers. So I'm going to say that the system of magic in the book is based on these metals. And the different metals give the characters different powers or different abilities. And only certain characters have those like powers or abilities to use the metals. And that's all I know so far. Our main characters are Kelsier, I think is how you pronounce it. I might be saying that. I might be pronouncing too many vowels in that name. But he's like the leader of the thieves. And then there's a girl named Vin who was with a different band of thieves. And now she's come with this band of thieves. And she's become part of this plan to overthrow the empire. So I'm going to go. I'm going to eat breakfast. I'm going to drink that coffee because it smells good. I'm going to keep reading. And I'll report back either later today or tomorrow when I've read some more and I know some more. Y'all, hey. We are out on a ride going absolutely nowhere. I mean, we're literally going nowhere. My car battery was dead, and the intern brought home the jump pack, I assume intending to... Uh-oh, car coming. I assume intending to do it later, but I was like, you know what? I'm grown. Let me go on ahead and do that without blowing up the car. And, oh, y'all, look. Leaves are already changing. Hang on. Leaves are already changing. I don't even know what to think about that. Anyway, intern brought home the jump pack, so I said, let me go ahead and jump my car and then drive it around like a big girl who can actually manage stuff, although I can't manage to keep my car from dying. So I figured there's some more okay, I'm not gonna we'll do that a different day. Go around and look at the leaves changing. But just note, the leaves are changing. So I thought we could drive around and visit for a little minute, because I thought about some things, some of my thoughts on Mistborn, the final empire, the last empire. Dang it, and I don't have the book with me because I'm driving. The Mistborn book that we're reading. I have some thoughts on it that I wanted to share that I forgot to share earlier. So I thought maybe we could drive around and just share some thoughts on the book. Now, first of all, let me remind y'all that we are reading way outside my comfort zone. We've established that. But the outside my comfort zone in this book is like two-pronged. One, there's the fantasy thing, and then two, there's this whole like battle thing. Like I don't know if this is like an in all the fantasy books thing, but it appears that we're headed into some big battle, right? Because we're going to try to overthrow the final empire, the last empire, whatever it is. I think I already told y'all that. So I have not an issue with that, but I kind of have an issue with that, because here's the deal. I get all sad and I get my feelings all hurt when, y'all know this. I don't know why I'm telling you this like you don't already know this. I get my feelings all hurt when something bad happens to a character that I like. And I know that's, okay, y'all, I'm sorry, we have to look at this tree. Did y'all see that? I'm going to come out one day while y'all aren't with me and just film some pretty trees, and then I'll just show you so that we don't have to keep turning the camera. Anyway, y'all know that I get my feelings hurt. I'm going to turn here. That's the problem with trying to talk when you're on a ride to nowhere, is that as the ride is kind of rambling all over the place, so is the conversation. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to focus. So I get my feelings hurt and I get all sad and I cry when sad things happen to characters that I like. Well, y'all, the characters in this book are very sympathetic. I'm only, I don't know, a third of the way through, and I'm liking it. Like, it's this sort of band of ruffians, and that is right straight up my alley. Y'all know, I love me a morally gray character, and some of these guys, y'all, seriously. And just like the rough around the edges, you know, you're not really sure what they're doing, or you're not really sure that you can get behind what they're doing, but you really like them, so you're getting behind what they're doing. There's a bunch of those characters in this book. So I'm just concerned because we're fixing to head into, we've already had one battle, and it wasn't really a battle. It was one of the characters getting himself into some shenanigans, and the only person in that whole thing that we knew or that we liked was Kelsey, or the main character. So that was okay. But I'm just worried about the way that, and I don't know nothing about nothing. So like at this point, it's just building. And I mean, maybe remember back in the day when I think I told y'all it was a trilogy, and it turns out it's only a trilogy if trilogy means 7 books. You know, maybe the first 3 books are like building the army and we meet all of our friends, and it takes a long time for the war or the battle to really start, and so we're safe for a while. But y'all remember what happened in Beartown. Like, we spent 3 books falling in love with these people, and then I'm just going to say I was devastated at the end of The Winners, which is the end of that trilogy. So I'm just saying that I'm concerned. So anyway, I don't know that I've even really said anything. I'm enjoying the character building. Brandon Sanderson has an amazing ability. I don't know if I've already said this or not, and if so, hopefully I will edit this out and I won't say the same thing twice. He has an amazing, I am appreciating his ability to develop these characters that are very different, and he makes them seem like different people. Like, I mean, obviously they have different abilities and different characteristics, but like their speech patterns are different. They feel different. Like when you're in the presence of different characters, you feel differently, and it's really cool. Like, there's a lot of hype out there about Brandon Sanderson, and people that like Sanderson love him. So I was a little bit concerned going into reading this that, I don't want to say that it wasn't going to live up to the hype, but I was a little concerned it wasn't going to live up to the hype. That's not why I waited to read it. I waited to start reading it because I was intimidated by it, because it's 600 pages, 600 plus pages of a genre that I don't normally read, that can be very overwhelming, because I think there are things about fantasy and different genres, like different things that propel the plot forward. And if you don't know what to look for, it's really easy to get lost. Or if you don't know which things to follow, it's easy to get mired down in details that you don't need to worry about. So I was really worried going into reading this absolute tome of a book that I was going to be, wandering, much like this ride and this conversation, I was going to be wandering around with really no idea where I was going. It has not been that way at all. It's been an absolutely enjoyable read so far. Now, mind you, in the next 100 pages, everybody I like might get slaughtered and their hearts might get eaten. So I might be back tomorrow to tell you to forget everything I just said. But so far, it's been an absolutely enjoyable read. And I'm a little sad that I waited this long to read my first Sanderson. So I'm going to go home now. I'm going to let my car run in the garage by herself for a little while, think about what she's done, and maybe she'll stop killing her battery. And I am going to go back to reading so that I'll have something to actually tell you the next time we talk. All right. So I'll check back in with y'all when I actually know something about something. All right. See y'all in a while. Bye now. Y'all, we are back in the car and we need to talk about this book. It's been a couple of days and my car just fired right up this time, by the way, in case you're keeping score. So yeah, I don't know. The intern put a analyzer thing on it and it said it's the alternator. So we're in the process. Anyway, let's talk about the book. I finished reading it yesterday. And y'all, I'm sorry. I'm literally the worst friend ever because I left y'all hanging. I did not keep you up to date on developments. But let me tell you what happened. What had happened was I was staying up way too late at night reading. I was exhausted all the time. So I was like, I need to just finish this thing. And that's one of my excuses. My other excuse is I kept saying, all right, I'm going to update the people. I'm going to check in, let them know what's going on. But I'm going to wait until we get through this, whatever it was. This, and I don't want to say too much because y'all know we don't want to give spoilers, but like our friends would get into some kind of trouble and I'd be like, all right, well, let's let them get out of this bit of trouble and then I'll update the people. Well, then by the time we're out of that trouble, then there's some other kind of trouble. So they were just constantly all up in the shenanigans. So let me just tell you my overall thoughts. I was right at pretty much everything I said, everything I suspected, every concern and worry that I had came to fruition by the end of that book, y'all. Like I said, it was 600 pages, so there was lots of room for lots of stuff to happen. The story was about this sort of band of rebels launching this rebellious attack or this rebellion against the final empire. So people were going to be getting into trouble. People were going to be getting hurt. Some folks were going to die. Check, check, check. Bad things happened to some folks that we love. I got my heart broken a little bit. There were some tears. I have to tell y'all this one thing that happened. So today is Monday. I finished reading Sunday morning. Saturday afternoon, I was reading and I was like walking around the house all cagey, like I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't relax. And the intern was like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is your damage? Not in like a mean way, but kind of in like a, what is like, kind of like a, you're aggravating me, kid. What is going on with you kind of way? And I was like, I'm worried about our friends. Some folks got their heads chopped off and our friends are like in a precarious situation. I'm worried our friends are going to get their heads chopped off. And he's like, wait, what? And I said, no, I know. It's so bad. And like, I'm tearing up and I picked up the book and went to look and he's like, hang on, are you talking about a book? I was like, what? In what world do you think that I know, first of all, in what world do you think that I know people who are in danger of getting their heads chopped off? That's question number one. And question number two is, in what world do you think I would be sitting here and just talking to you all calm while our friends are in danger of getting their heads chopped off? He just shook his head like, I literally don't know what I'm going to do with you. I mean, I can't really blame him, but As my mom and sister Gayla reminded me when I told them that story, he knew what he was getting himself into with me. He's known me for 100 years, so whatever. Anyway, so that's kind of how this book has gone for me, y'all. It's so good. I was on a tack for probably the last, it's about 640 pages for about the last 250 pages. About 250 pages. I could not sit still. I could not stop reading. There were some twists at the end that I did not see coming. I told y'all about that our main protagonists are Vin and Kelsier. So we follow them throughout the book. And when we meet Vin, I may have told y'all all of this, so I'm just gonna very briefly say that when we meet her, she's with a band of thieves and she's just not safe. I mean, when you run with a band of thieves, you're just not safe anyway, but she's not safe with these guys. They don't protect her, they don't keep her safe, so she feels like that's just how life is. Like that's just how it's always gonna be for her. And her brother, we know from the very beginning that her brother abandoned her with these guys, and he sort of raised her to know that she couldn't trust anyone. Well, we learn a lot about her throughout the book and why she is the way she is. And we learn a lot about her and her brother's relationship. And it's just a really interesting character arc, and her development throughout the book is really interesting, and it's just really kind of amazing. And the way that being with Kelsier, somebody that she can trust, changes her is really interesting to watch. And I don't want to say any more than that because y'all know my fear of spoilers, but that's not spoilery because that's just you know who Kelsier is the minute that you meet him, or sort of who or what his character is. And I mean, it's like Captain Obvious to see who he's gonna be to Vin, from the jump. So anyway, it's fantastic. Broke my heart. Saturday night when I was going to bed to read, I was just so sad. And the intern's like, just stop reading sad books. Y'all, people that don't read books just don't get us. So anyway, as you can see, I'm at the Walmart. I got to go and get my prescriptions, and hopefully, I will not be going inside because I did not bring the jump pack. And even though my car started once, I'm not convinced it's going to start again, and I'm not going to call the intern to come and get me. So y'all, that's it. That's all I'm going to tell you about The Final Empire, because like I've said 15 times, I don't want to give any spoilers. And if I keep talking, I'm going to start giving stuff away, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have not found my new Benji, but I did really enjoy the characters in this book. The sort of band of thieves that run around together they're not a band of thieves, they're rebels. The rebels that we meet that run around together, and they're very gray at times and just fabulous. I've enjoyed getting to know them. I feel like we're probably going to get to know them a lot better in the books moving forward, which I don't know anything about nothing, but I feel like the groundwork's been laid now for us to get into this world and into these characters. So that's my expectation. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to dive straight into book number 2. I need a little break, but I have thoroughly enjoyed my first Brandon Sanderson book. I'm a little sad that I waited this long to start reading Brandon Sanderson. I am a fan. I thoroughly enjoyed The Final Empire, and I recommend it. Y'all, let me know what you think. Have you read The Final Empire? Have you read Sanderson? Are you a Sanderson fan? And let me know. Y'all know my apprehension about reading fantasy. Is this like a typical fantasy book? If you read Sanderson and you read other fantasy, let me know, is this typical fantasy? Have I allowed myself to be intimidated by fantasy for no reason? Let me know in the comments what you think. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you've made it this far, we're definitely friends. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I upload food and fitness videos the beginning of every week with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.